Good day, grand rising, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the time of day it is or night where you are. I appreciate you for tapping in to hear this much needed conversation. Joining me this evening to do so is my esteemed brother, the brother Crumb, the master student, who has, I can't even give him enough introduction to let him introduce himself, if you will, please.
Peace and love, gratitude. Thank you so much for having me. I'm humbled, honored, I'm grateful. I give you high honors and perfect praise. It is I, your humble brother Crumb, the master student of CrumbTV.
Again, thank you for joining me. This was kind of an impromptu conversation that you and I were having on a phone call yesterday um, about the youth. Reed's Learning Street is for the youth. Everything we do is about the youth, and we want to make sure that everybody gets their voice and opinion about for the youth, in support of the youth, no matter what that opinion is. And tonight, I want to talk a little bit about the brain development of the youth going into being adulthood. And the master student is one opposite of me, a male. I'm a female, he's a male. So he's going to bring that masculine opinion that is non biased. And I am much grateful and appreciative of you doing so, sir. The median age, well, first I'm going to bring up this here. I'm going to share this that I found. Where we go? Here we go. My apologies. So, the median age of growth for the youth, or for the age that they say that youth done maturing, or their brain, I should say, is median time about 25, the age of 25. But prior to that, the brain is still uh, maturing and growing. I found this article from the from NPR.org, which is the National Radio Broadcasting state website. It states under most laws, young people are recognized as adults at age 18, but emerging science about brain development suggests that most people don't reach full maturity until the age of 25. Brother Crumb, do you concur or do you have any issues with that statement of the brain not developing until 25?
N- Uh, yes and no. Yes, I agree with that, but only for males. I don't agree with that for females. Um, but let me stick with why I do agree. When I was growing up, upon graduation, I was gifted a car by my parents, a Pontiac Le Mans hatchback. And the only reason I remember is because it was my first car. And it was a 4 shift stick shift. It just had first, second, third, fourth, and reverse, and neutral, of course. And I went to get insurance on it. And as you can imagine, they hit me in the head so hard, I was ready to walk. And they said something. This is years before NPR, National Public Radio, wrote this article. I'm not saying how, maybe a couple of decades. I'm showing my age. So they said, young man, you're not going to get a decent insurance, because I said, what? I'm not paying that. I'm gonna go to another insurance agency. They said, nah, this is how it is for you. And your insurance won't go down until you turn 25.
Mm-hmm.
Your insurance won't go down. Because remember, they have to study these things because they could lose a lot of money insuring somebody who's high risk, or charging somebody who's low risk a lot of money. So the reason I knew that 25 was a threshold is because when I went to get insurance from 18 to 24, they made me want to walk. I yield.
So, and you're speaking about being a male and having to pay higher insurance rates because you were under 25. Now, why is that? The male brain is not done maturing until sometimes even up until the age of 35 and even beyond, depending on the developmental abilities of the individual.
Well, I'm glad you said developmental, because there was a music group a long time ago when I was a kid, and a lot of people didn't understand the high level at which this music group operated in. The name of the group said everything. The name of the group was Arrested Development.
I remember them.
Yeah, I think they like won a Grammy, or I don't know what the name of the accolade was, but they had some hits. So I never within my life heard anybody break down what that means. Um, and I'll ask and yield the floor and explain and yield the floor. Are you familiar what the meaning of arrested development means?
So if I break it down etymologically, meaning that the brain or the mind is stopped of growing.
Bingo. Men who go to jail, or boys who go to jail, a lot of times suffer from arrested development. They never had that opportunity to mature, so on and so forth. But this can happen to anybody for any reason. But it's just the concept that not everybody who is quote unquote grown is grown. And 25 is not a hard threshold. You might not fully develop until 35. And being a late bloomer is totally fine. I yield the floor.
Right. There's totally nothing wrong with, you know, uh, developing or maturing at a later age. Some even mature past 35, I'm going to say. There are individuals that I know are in their 40s, 50s, some even in their 60s that are still of the childlike mind state. So the the development of the brain cannot just be boxed in is my point. You know how the system says at 18 you're an adult. Get out there and go be you. I don't agree with that. Greetings, Red Bear TV. I appreciate you for joining us this evening. Um, I don't agree with kicking out our youth, our tribe, our children when their brain is not done developing. Even from the age of 12 to 18, actually 19, they're all grouped together. And then past 19 is the learning how to be in the community and functioning at a high proportion. So do we put children that are once they turn 18 and the state or the system says that they are an adult, do we charge them and hold them for adult actions and activities if their brain is not even finished developing to figure out or find out if what they're doing is a an adult action? I yield the floor.
Well, there's only one community that I'm not going to say one, but the community that stands out the most is going to be the Jewish community, respectfully, because they groom their sons and daughters, of course, at around the age of, let's say, 12, 13, to start contributing to the community. Whether that be a lawyer, a doctor, a policeman, or whatever, that grooming starts because they are very much focused on nationality. And I don't want to make it Moorish because it's not, but when we say words like nationality, the nation breaks down to states, states break down to cities, cities to neighborhoods, neighborhoods to homes. So the neighborhood is an aspect of nationality where we serve our community. And um, we have to groom them young to do this. And there's a disparage in that. And the only reason I say that is because a part of maturing is based on imagery. I saw, matter of fact, have you seen the movie Catch Me If You Can?
Yes, with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, ma'am. So that movie highlighted, and Tom Hanks, that movie highlighted how he saw it, and that was the only reason he chose it. He didn't want to be a doctor till he saw a doctor. He didn't want to be a pilot till he saw a pilot. His development was based on imagery. He's like, oh, I like that. Okay, let me shoot my shot. Um, but you still have to have some form of community, let's say, where you can see someone who is the older version of you. And I'm not trying to make it a race thing because Lord knows it's not. But in his community, he saw men that looked like him at an older age doing these types of things, and he mimicked that. Um, I think it even starts at an age where the baby starts putting on other people's shoes and kind of walking in those, just playing around. But this is a part of the development. The development doesn't happen in a vacuum. There it is. There it is. And I'm not the movie connoisseur and critic, but I'm gonna give this one a raving review, and I'm gonna label it a must see. I'm not gonna give no spoilers. I'm not telling you what happened at the end, but to the listening audience who are live and those who are gonna catch this later, you gotta watch this one.
I agree because the way that he made his moves as a young person, I'm going to say, the way his brain was processing was interesting to say the least.
Absolutely, because I believe not just in the movie, but in real life, it uh it was a time span of maybe, let's say he's 7, I don't know, up until he's about 25, and he doesn't stop his shenanigans until he matures. Now, he's high functioning. Is he ready for the real world? Absolutely not. Is he a child prodigy and a genius? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He and this is not a movie to the listening audience. That happened in real life. That's a real guy. So yeah, I don't care how smart your child is and how high functioning the child is. Even in that movie, he didn't mature until he was about, you know, later in his 20s, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna stop playing and do right.
Right. I'm going to say closer to almost 30. He was near his
Okay,
late 20s.
okay, okay. That, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, I think it is based on imagery. I think it's a based on meaning environment. What we see around us has a critical functionality within the development, the healthy development um, of the children.
So, at what age should we start to hold children account? Not children, um, young adults or developing brains. What age should we be holding them accountable, if not at the age of 18?
Well, I heard someone say something, and it truly resonated with me. It said, or the person said, a father's love, and I think they were copying Shahrazad Ali, but I'm not going to give her direct credit, no disrespect. A father's love is the closest thing to godly love that a child will ever get. Why? Because God's love is disciplinary. God says to get into heaven, you have to repent. You did something wrong, you got to own up, and God's going to be the enforcer. You go to hell, or you got to repent, or whatever the case may be. And it's the same thing with society. A father's love is going to be the closest thing to a policeman that a child gets. I was, well, when I raised my children, because they can't speak from birth to, let's say, one, or I'm probably sooner than that, but let's just say one. So I'm teaching the children sign language so that they can communicate. Just simple stuff: hungry, thirsty, tired, go play, what the, the basics. So if you rub the dark side, the top side of your hand with your other hand, that's the sign language, American Sign Language, for be nice. So the baby was doing something wrong. I don't know. I can't remember. But I looked the baby in the eyes. I put my left hand out flat, and I rubbed the top of my left hand with my right hand, and I said to the baby, "Be nice." Now the baby flipped. I just thought, the baby got really mad that I said you're not being nice. But it was just to check. Remember, all I did was rub my hand, but the baby knows sign language. So the baby knew I was saying, be nice. And I would say that's even where it starts, because we we shouldn't delay, because development starts instantaneous. Development starts in the womb. We talk to the babies while they in the womb.
There you go.
So even though that was probably not the ideal disciplinary hold the child accountable, hey, listen, what you did wasn't nice. And of course, now this was a little girl, and little girls can be more emotional. But even though the shit, like my son is the most emotional thing on 2 feet. But anyway, she had her little temper tantrum, and she cried for maybe 30 seconds, but she knew that was unacceptable behavior. Um, and even though because listen, we're at a different place, so we can look at these things and laugh. But I did understand that was a learning moment for her, even though as traumatic as it was, because she had to, listen. She's only like maybe, well, at that time, she was, less than 1 years old. So, but it was that reinforcement that she needed at the time. Now, is it extreme? No. Does it have to be? I don't think so either. I yield.
I agree. It does not have to be extreme. We can teach the children in a direct and firm way without being over aggressive, I should say. Although, as you said, that like you were just describing, with God being that direct, firm hand, without that, I don't feel like our youth will be able to move forward, because that male aspect still has to be there to ensure that they don't get out of line, even at the age of 2, 3. Again, like you say, with mastering on this chart, mastering a language, eh, sign language. Be nice. If you're not going to be nice, every action has a reaction, every cause has an effect. And it starts in the womb with that learning process, and technically does not ever end until we are no longer in this realm or have moved on to our next position. I yield.
And on that note, the development process. Well, actually, here, let me breathe just a moment. You've got something up here. May I ask what that is?
Okay, so this is, uh, a, I found this on the internet, on Wikipedia. Just well, not Wikipedia, this one came from Pinterest, showing the different stages of growth by age. And it's here, when you were speaking of the sign language, it reminded me of this here, mastering a language at the age of 5. By that point, the child should have mastered more than one language, in my own personal opinion, because sign language is one language. Then you've got your verbal language. So the child will automatically, in the womb, they have that first language of intuition, of where they can, they have the connection with mom and dad and the ancestors. So they're already communicating that way. That's one language. Then once they are born, they have the sound, and they're hearing the different sounds from the mom, dad, tribe that are around them, brother, sister, whomever else, putting those sounds together and forming words. Now, their eyes are also seeing their tribe moving around, and their mouths, the mouths of their tribes moving. They're seeing the hand, like the sign languages, the hand movements. How, if when we wave, hey, how you doing? Or if we nod at somebody, that's how we will silently speak to someone. That's a totally another language. So now by the time that child is, I'm going to say 5 to 6 months, they've got the intuition language, they've got the sound language, and they also have a sight language, sign language. So, based off of this here, mastering a language by the age of 5, I'm looking at 5 languages by the age of 5. So, I brought this up because this is one of the systems, um, bar for brain development, and where we as adults, or as humans, quote unquote, should be by certain ages. By the age of 6, we should be mastering seeing and hearing. That's ridiculous. And this is from the Business Insider. As you see, I put the reference at the top, businessinsider.com. By the age of 9, learning to play a musical instrument. Skipping all the way to by the age of 15, remembering and problem solving. Between 15 and 25, mastering inhibiting impulses and planning to reach a goal, and recognizing peer pressure. So by the time they're 25, these things still may not be mastered. And that's according to this scale by the Business Insider. That's what I brought up. My apologies. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Now, I'm going to say this and I'll say it again. My only point of contention is 25 is for males. Um, 14 for girls. And do you have the capability of Googling stuff?
Yes,
Oh, awesome. Would you mind Googling something for me?
definitely.
Could you Google do girls mature at 14? You can hold the control button and tap plus to increase the size of the font. I think I hear you tapping it. It may be a delay,
Okay.
or it may not be control. It may be the Windows button. But no pressure. You can just tell me what you see. Is there
It's not.
anything?
Oh, it's not. Is it not growing bigger?
No, it's not. But no worries. It's because I'm actually on a phone. If I were on a regular computer, I'd be able to see just fine. But but no worries, no worries.
Okay, so I
Um,
see the stages of puberty explained in pictures by WebMD, developmental milestones for your 14-year-old child, puberty stages for boys and girls by Family Doctor. Do girls really mature earlier than boys? Adolescent.
what what here? Maybe. I'm sorry. What was it that you Googled?
Do girls mature at 14?
Okay. Um, and I noticed that you're actually not using Google. My apologies. Uh, there's a certain feature that Google has, and I'm not 1,000,000%.
Let me see
Uh,
here.
my apologies. I'm not 1,000,000% familiar with DuckDuckGo and how they present the search results. And the only okay, there it is. And I I like for you to for these straightforward, clear cut answers where they kind of just highlight stuff. So I can't see what it says, but can you tell me what that says?
For girls, puberty begins around age 11. Consequently, girls become physically mature between 14 and 16. Therefore, the physical development that comes with puberty can trigger body image and self esteem issues. That is from the newportacademy.com.
Between 14 and 16 is in this particular source material when her body she starts around 11, she finishes around 16. Now, can you Google do boys stop growing at 25, or males, or maybe something like that?
Do boys stop growing at 25?
According to Vinmic, most boys grow in height only a little after the age of 18. In rare cases, children hit puberty in their teens and continue to grow in height until the age of 20.
Okay. Um, she's typically gonna stop physically growing between 14 and 16. He's gonna stop growing. Now, of course, this what what's the source material for that one?
This one is vinmec.com, health news
Okay.
for pediatrics.
Okay. Cool. 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 What I usually do as well is there's a section that says people also ask. And the only reason I go there is because to get the right answer, you have to ask the right question. and sometimes I don't word things the right way. But generally speaking, his development stops at 25. Her development stops around the age of 14. Um, I have some source material. Unfortunately, it's not committed to memory, but she's going to stop. She doesn't finish her maturation, her process of maturing, until she starts uh, menopause. That's why a woman who is done with menopause, we call her a mature woman. Why do we call women who have gone through menopause mature? That's the euphemism for a elderly woman. She's mature, because her it's in particular it's her amygdala gland. Her amygdala gland stops functioning at age 14, and it'll continue and finally mature after menopause. But the male amygdala gland stops maturing or growing around the age of 25, which allows him more time to mature. So do girls mature faster than boys? Absolutely. Um, but boys get a better maturity earlier on, and girls don't get her true wisdom until after menopause, and she loses her sexual availability. Um, so these are the scientific connections in terms of that amygdala gland, and the amygdala gland is also going to be responsible for things that appear childish, like crying. A woman will cry easily, like a child will cry easily. That's because of her amygdala gland. And she has to stay in a childlike state, which makes her naturally submissive, because children start out as submissive. You pulled something up. I'm curious. What's that?
The definition, or what is the amygdala gland, in case anyone is not familiar with what you're speaking of. It is an almond shaped structure that lies at the temporal lobe just beneath the uncus. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Uh, what else does it say?
The amygdala is diverse and complex in structure and comprises approximately 13 nuclei. They further subdivide into extensive internuclear and intranuclear connections. That is nih.gov.
Okay, National Institution of Health. Can you go and see if that gland is responsible for maturity? Now, while you're looking that up, well, I think you already got it.
The importance of the amygdala in the behavioral changes from adolescence to adulthood has been well established, i.e., by Scherf 2013. The amygdala is part of a circuit that strongly influences social and fear behaviors, including several frontal cortical regions and subcortical limbic regions by nih.gov.
Absolutely. So we're dealing with, because remember, glands produce hormones. A lot
Right.
of people, when we talk about maturity, they're going to talk about the pituitary gland producing testosterone and estrogen. While that is true, we're also dealing with that the amygdala gland as well, uh, being associated with maturity and the growth. The activity of this gland differs by gender.
Agreed. Very much agreed. Which goes into the growth of even when it's let's say a young. We take two of the same age 3 year olds, one male and one female. There is different growth ages and spurts going on even at that young age. Even
Well,
in the womb, actually, though.
can you Google this? Do girls potty train quicker than boys?
Definitely.
Or maybe sooner or something of that effect?
Most children complete potty training by 36 months. Girls learn faster, usually completing toilet training 2 to 3 months before boys do.
This
That
is
is
this is I'm sorry.
that's by UC Davis.
That's all wise, right, and exact. She's going to excel at every level before he does. That's why girls are respectfully, she's ready for sex before he is.
So why is it then that the boys are pushed into, or I won't say pushed, but societally wise, they are encouraged to sow their quote unquote oats, while girls are encouraged to uh, abstain and hold themselves for their husband or.
Well, I think this is respectfully not to that degree, but a part of his development because when we're dealing with the genitals, they play two different roles, and uh, by gender, they serve two different purposes. By gender, his purpose is to impregnate as many females as he can. That's why he can ejaculate several times a day and he has a million billion sperm each ejaculation, but she's only fertile one time a month. He can impregnate a bunch of women all at the same time. She can only be impregnated one time. He is a hunter by nature. She is the hunted by nature. So for she doesn't have to develop any skill to be hunted. She just has to make sure that the right hunter gets her. What he has to do is develop his skill with hunting women. This is a part of his confidence. This is a part of his charisma. This is a part of his social initiation. Because if the women of society deem you weird, bro, you weird. Um, you you have to remember everything a man does is for the approval of a woman. Absolutely everything. Remember, can can you Google the word muse? Muse. It's probably going to give the definition, and then it's hopefully it gives us the archaic etymon. But in short, a muse is something that inspires you. Um, Amusement, music, uh, museum. But yeah, there were nine muses, and they were all women. A woman is a muse.
Okay,
That's
so
why.
look, this says as a verb to muse is to consider something thoughtfully. As a noun, it means a person, especially as a woman, who is a source of artistic inspiration.
Remember, how do you get the basketball players and the football players to play harder?
You get the cheerleaders out there.
Go team, go! Give me a G. G, give me a O. Oh, go Tigers!
Right, facts.
She's amused, and these are things that make young boys act different. Now, this isn't a good. Remember, if he's playing basketball by himself, he's only going to exert a certain amount of energy. If he's playing a one-on-one, it's still only going to be a certain amount, more than by himself. 3-on-3, full court, shirts versus skins. Now, when you get him to his max level, put some girls on the sideline. That's when he's going to go at his highest potential. I don't care if they're not paying attention.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I've
Now,
seen I've seen it in action, so I totally agree.
I'm not going to say sow your wild oats. They told me that, and I'm going to say that that was not choice advice. I'm not going to say sow your wild oats, but does he have to prove himself? And a part of his development is trial by women. That is a reality. Yes, that is a true statement.
I digress. I digress. Okay, so now keeping all of that in context, let's get to where the 18-year point, or that's where they are technically considered adult. If we get children that have situations, let's say they are, as you say, with these not sowing their oats, but maturing and finding themselves physically, or however it wants to be defined for male and defined for female. At that age, though, the brain is still not done developing. And even though he is here to go and make as many children as possible, and she only has but once a month to be able to grasp the sperm in order for her to be able to carry a child, even though she can only carry that one, possibly multiple children at one time for 9 months, he can go out and plant his seed multiple times, even multiple times in a day, multiple times in a week, to where that seed is spread far and wide like fire, like what, like a wildfire almost, just going. So there he is, uh, being fruitful and multiplying. Yet each of those seeds is still only where it's at for 9 months. So it would have to be multiple women that he is planting his seed in multiple times a day for the cycle of life for him to continue. Is that really what's in his brain, though, as what he needs to do? Or is he taken by the social aspect, and everything is now sexual, and it's no longer about planting a seed and being fruitful and multiplying. It's about getting as much and doing as much as possible. When does that come into play at?
Well, yeah, I was only making that point to say that women are going to play an important part in his life, and to be comfortable and confident around women is going to determine a lot of his success overall. That doesn't mean to be intimate with them. That doesn't mean to have a baby. Because in terms of maturity, men don't mature in that regard. He's not, like, whoever he is, that person isn't a person until approximately age 35. From his, in his 20s, I don't care, 18, you're legally. When we say 18, we're only talking legal. We're talking legalese. We're talking at 18, he can go in a contract. In 18, he can make certain purchases. At 18, so on and so forth. That's legalese. Now, biologically, whenever he has his first ejaculation or her first cycle, they can biologically. Now, structurally, meaning, all right, we're gonna build upon the family, the neighborhood, the state, the nation by having this child. Structurally, he's not ready to take on that responsibility in today's society until about age 35. Um, but this is based on societal norms. Remember, great grandpa got married approximately age 18 to 20. But at that time, you know, they were doing. Now, you got to remember how drastically things have changed. I was able to buy cigarettes at age like 6, 8. My mama would send me go buy me a Diet Pepsi, some cigarettes, and some chips,
Right.
and I
I
would go
remember.
buy them. So things were different in great grandpa their age. They like kids could smoke cigarettes, and I'm not saying that's a rite of passage and that means anything. It was a different time to where they live, because remember, environment is going to predicate a lot of this. And in today's environment, he's not going to be ready structurally until about age 35. He's going to reach his zenith about that age to where he's ready to take on these types of responsibilities. Yeah, can he do it? Absolutely, no problem. Absolutely, no question. He can do it. But the reason I don't recommend it is because, especially in this day and time, it's a very dangerous game. Could it be done back in those days? Absolutely, but it's a different time, and there's a lot of different factors. I would say this is my thing: keep your head down for 10 years, both of them. That's the kind of the joke at the end. Meaning, from age 15 to age 25, you shouldn't be doing anything except working. The black woman is God and all of this stuff. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. But at that age, from that range, she's a distraction. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. She's a distraction at that age. You stay focused on your goal. She was born with her value. Whatever she's going to get from age 14 to 16. Your body, you're going to have to do some fucking push-ups, bro. It's never going to come. Testosterone won't do for you what estrogen does for her, and you're going to have to develop yourself from 15 to 25. That push-ups, physical activity, sports, whatever the case may be. Of course, your education. So structurally, I'm not saying sow your wild oats. It doesn't make sense. And in today's age, is dangerous, and it's not worth the risk. Um, You're not ready to get married or have children as a man. This is different for women because she matures sooner. Remember, her first toy, the most popular toy for a little girl age 1, I don't care how young she is what?
At the age of the most popular toy for a girl, a
Yep,
Barbie, a baby doll.
a baby doll. Why you give a baby? Because even as a baby, she wants to express her maternal instinct.
Facts. Facts.
He's not gonna be ready till 35. Because she's on a different time scale than he is. She's potty training before him. She's in her divine feminine before he ever gets close to his divine masculine. So the maturity levels, not legally, yeah, I get it. Physically, hey, listen, the reality is he's fertile at 12. Structurally, in terms of a family, a neighborhood, a functioning part of society, yeah, I'm gonna put him at 35.
Okay, you say 35. I just found this from regain.us. In general, men and women cannot fully reach full maturity until their brains are fully developed at around age 25. However, some studies have shown that men do not fully mature until age 43, and that women reach maturity at age 32.
I would respectfully disagree. Um, there are two streams of thought throughout popular society, and they are considered liberal and conservative. Um, During Jesus's time, he was going against the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The Pharisees were the liberals, the Sadducees were the conservatives. Um, Young people are liberal, old people are conservatives. Well, the most liberal institution is the school system. The school system pushes a lot of liberal ideas as if there's more than two genders and these new wave ways of thinking. Um, and to say a woman is mature at age 32, I would say is far fetched. It's definitely far fetched. Um, she's going to be mature at 14, at the latest 18. She's going to reach her zenith after menopause. Um, him, 43, I will accept that. I'll accept 43. Remember, um, the sexiest woman, we're talking biologically, is between 18 and 24. Men universally, I don't care what age he is, what race he is, what nationality, what religion, men universally want a woman between 18 and 24. But the prime age at which a woman wants a man is going to be late 40s, mid to late 40s.
Okay, I concur. I totally agree with that. Even up until men are in their 50s and 60s, the ideal age or birth giving or fertile age range is considered 18 to 24 for a female. Once she hits a certain plateau, I'm going to say when she's hitting her late 20s, it's considered that her fertile ages or fertile years start to uh, dwindle, or her fertility becomes less and less. So yes,
Can,
more.
can you
Go ahead.
Google most Down syndrome children come from old women having babies?
80% of babies with Down syndrome are born to women under age 35. That does.
Mm,
Down syndrome occurs in all races. One in 1,200 for a 25-year-old, one in 1,000 for 31, one in 400 by the age of 35, and about one in 100 at age 40. So the older we get, the more prone we are to have a Down syndrome child.
the eggs are hard boiled, and those eggs, when the eggs dry out, when the eggs get hard boiled, uh, those are the Down syndrome babies. The older she gets, the more likelihood of Down syndrome it is. That right there, being from such a prestigious source, is surprising. But if you look, there are going to be ones to say that Down syndrome is because and when I say hard boiled and dried out, I'm not being funny. I mean, like, that's literally what's causing the Down syndrome. Uh, that egg is expired. But nonetheless, with that said, America's heartthrob, for the white man, is like that. What is that guy's name? Um, George Clooney.
Okay.
George Clooney is considered to be the sexiest man in America, and I don't know how old he is. And on the black side, the sexiest black man in America is Idris Alba, and I think he's like 50. Like,
Yeah, he's in his 50s. In his
okay,
50s.
but yeah, so but you know,
I'm still
and
trying to wrap my head around George Clooney. That
well, well, yeah, I mean, you can Google it. Like George Clooney is America's heartthrob, or like he's Mr. Handsome or something like that. Um, and uh, it's only because he is at that matured age. He's like, I think Martha Stewart wanted to get with him, and you know, whatever the case
Okay, I
may
see
be.
what you're saying. He's got I guess I'm gonna say the silver fox thing. I don't
Silver
particularly
Fox,
care.
that's it. Okay.
I got you. I got you. Okay, that makes sense.
Now, you know, for me, if you would have asked me that, I would say, you know, 25. But you know, that's that's far from the truth. The average, you know, well, and remember, well, you're a woman, so you don't know. But when I was a kid, in let's say ninth grade, 10th grade, the ninth, 10th grade girls didn't want me. They wanted the older guys. And I do notice the older I get, the young girls like, girl, go find somebody your age. But you know, she wants an older guy because older guys represent maturity. He has his ish together. He's not playing the young boy games. He's ready to settle down. You know, he's financially stable. He's accomplished a couple of things. He has swag, he has confidence. And for a guy, it takes years to develop that character. Now, some young, now, you know, nothing is all. Some guys get it early, but most guys, it takes us a lot. Me, for example, I remember uh, the first time I was intimate with a woman. She held my hand through the whole process. I was scared to death, to life. I didn't know what, you know, and uh, I don't want to say she pressured me. She, she, she was the leader to where I didn't even want to do it. I just wanted to kiss a girl. I didn't
And
even,
what?
you know,
How young were you at this?
I don't want
Were
to
you
say
a
how young
teenager?
I'm sorry.
Were you a teen or
Yeah, yeah,
younger?
yeah, 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 yeah. I was a teenager.
Okay.
But even in my 20s, I did not have the confidence I have now. I I had a lot of fire in my 30s, but I think I'm more refined, balanced. My delivery is smoother. I don't rush. So
That goes back to proof of you as a male reaching your maturity levels in your early 30s. Would that not? You just said that now you're moving a lot more, what sounds to me as methodically.
correct.
So prior to reaching this phase, you were still learning, maturing, learning how to move the chess pieces on your chessboard, so to speak.
Absolutely. But I will say this. Could you look up the etymology of the word self? No, 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 no. I'm sorry. The etymology of the word ego.
I, early 19th century Latin, literally I.
Can you scroll a little bit and let's see another one? Okay. Well, yes. Ego means I. Derivatives of I. Me. Another derivative of I. Self. These are all derivatives of the word I. I is me. I is self. Could you Google ego means self? Remember, what is an alter ego? So it says right there, the meaning of ego is the self. Your ego is you. Um,
So
please.
so would that not be like lower self or higher, as in lower or higher self? The ego would be one or the other.
Well, ego is a Latin word, not a thought. So, um, when we say higher self and lower self, that's more of dealing with the science. When we say ego, we're dealing with literature. So this is Latin language. Before we think of ego as anything in terms of new ideas, ego is self. Ego is who you are. Remember, when a baby is first born, what chakra is the baby in? Well, here, can you Google babies are in their root chakra? Babies are all about ego. Babies are all about self. Remember, root chakra is about food. Your baby eats every 4 hours as a newborn. Um, Babies are incapable of loving anything else and wanting or caring for anyone else beyond themselves. What does that say? The vital life force energy of root chakra begins at conception and continues dividing the cell during embryogenesis. That's not what I'm looking for. Um, the first year of life, the baby is in ego. The seventh year of life, the baby is in the crown chakra, the age of imagination. But from newborn to 12 months old, your baby it's in its ego.
Yeah, that's right. Conceived. Okay, no, that's not. As you usually say, to get the right answer, you have to put in the correct question to find exactly what I'm looking for.
My apologies because I know sometimes it can be a timely process to figure out the magic words, so to speak.
Correct, right. I get it. So my apologies for not being prepared with having that. But again, this was an impromptu conversation, so I'm just appreciative of the fact that you are bringing this type of information to the masses for
Right.
me or with me. You know what I'm saying? This information is what everybody in our community needs to know, because we don't want to criminalize or subjugate children before their brain is even conceived of what they're doing.
Come on.
That is the purpose, or was that was why we were having, or that's how we got to this live, by not penalizing children for being children.
Correct.
When do we say, okay, the brain is still growing? Do I throw away uh, the prison to the school to prison pipeline? So they take a child who's in the school system and they already will have tickets on them or whatever. So by the time they get to 18, they already have a record. And then if they do something, now it's you're an adult, so you're responsible and you're going to jail. We're going to lock you away, throw away the key until you are gone. Their brain is still developing, though.
I seen my aunt beat my little cousin. Well, I'm sorry. Let me not lie. There's a famous anecdotal story in my family about my aunt who beat my cousin, which I think is her granddaughter. I don't know. Don't get me to lying. But she beat my cousin. I know the girl, my cousin, when she was like 7 months old. And to this day, we still talk about when she beat my little cousin at 7 months old, as if she taught her a lesson or she could understand or comprehend whatever goofy ish, because women are emotional. 9 out of 10, because even though I'm villainizing Auntie right now, I'm not gonna make no excuses for Auntie. But let's be honest, women are emotional. Auntie got frustrated and she hit her out of frustration. But she's a woman, so I'm not gonna say that. Auntie did not want to hold herself accountable to say, yes, I'm an emotional woman, and that was my snapping point, and I made a decision, and it was the wrong decision. Now, I'm not gonna go there, but I do understand. Listen, children are in their ego from birth until at least age 1. That child don't know how to love nobody. That child don't know how to do nothing. Sis, do you know what the first rule of life is?
Self preservation.
That baby just trying to preserve itself. The baby probably just needed to be changed. The baby needed to eat. The baby needed, at that age, they only crying for a handful of reasons. Well, the baby crying. The baby's hangry. The baby's acting angry because the baby's hungry. When's the last time the baby ate? When the last time the baby been changed? These are the questions you ask about a 6, 7 month old. You don't go hit and come on. But, no judgment. I already know what it is. She was emotional and she hit her out of anger because that was her breaking point because she was frustrated.
I agree that she may have been frustrated, although she still has to be accountable for her actions. Again, she was an older, you say your aunt. Her brain was still conceiving of, let me get my emotions under control. Let me not take out my anger on this 7 month old. More proof of her brain was still developing as well.
Well, what made it bad? Because it was her grandma. So it was old girl's daughter's daughter. So she was up in age by the time that happened. Because when I got around, I'm a little bit old myself, but yeah, she's significantly older than me. And but this conversation isn't necessarily to say anything bad about her, but just to say, uh, children at that age, they are in a certain mind frame, and that's their maturity level. And just like you were saying, we have to be cognizant in order to meet people where they're at. Um, like, oh, you don't trust so and so. It's like, no, it's not that I don't trust him. I'm not going to deal with an 18-year-old like I would deal with a 48-year-old.
Facts. Facts. Again,
Because
though, that 48-year-old can't take out their frustrations on an 8-year-old. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, absolutely. I just don't want to get too far off topic to where you know, I derailed the conversation because I was, just want to put that on the children. But you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier with arrested development. And even though we were giving everybody their respect, one thing I didn't say is the sad reality is some people never mature. And that's what the movie Baby Boy was about with Tyrese Gibbons and Tahaji P. Henson. I'm not sure. Have you seen that?
I have. And it was a very interesting movie to say the least. It, I agree with you. A an adult who was still living the life of a child. Uh,
Uh-huh.
y-
Yeah.
yeah, he even with not having his own home to lay his head on, to place to, he living off of his quote unquote baby mama, according to the movie. You know what I'm saying? So yes, very immature young man throughout the entire movie until the very last end when he realizes I gotta grow up.
Can you click that link? I just noticed that you pulled it up. I just want to read that. The first paragraph might just say something about actors, but I just want to glance at it if that's okay.
Oops, let's see.
Okay, so that first paragraph isn't really saying anything. Rapper. What? Hold on. I didn't know that. It said the film was originally written with rapper slash actor Tupac Shakur in mind to play Jody. I didn't know that.
I did not know that either. I'm not even gonna hold you up. I did not know that.
Right.
That's a damn Gina moment for me. Okay.
Yeah. Damn, Gina.
Damn, Gina. Okay. uh, I don't know if I can see how he wouldn't have been able to fit in such an immature role.
Right. But these don't really give a synopsis. Can you scroll to the next paragraph? See what that says. Okay, there we go. Plot.
Jody Joseph Jody Summers waits for his girlfriend Yvette at the unaliving clinic for children after compelling her to go. They then have a heated argument about his lack of commitment and selfishness. She asks him if he will ever come live with her and their son Jojo, but he deliberately avoids the subject and comes and goes as he pleases. Meanwhile, Jody also continues having affairs with other women, including a young girl named Peanut, with whom he also has a daughter. Lil Nut. What? Jody also nearly has ex with Pandora. I'm connecting these names.
Right.
I,
Right.
okay. Yvette's colleague and coworker, but manages to rebuff her advances. When Yvette discovers his cheating, their ensuing argument eventually turns physical, culminating in her kicking him out of her home. Yvette's gangster ex-boyfriend Rodney is released from San Quentin and returns to the neighborhood to move in with Yvette. However, Rodney does not care for JoJo and wants to impregnate Yvette himself. But when Rodney attempts to assault Yvette in front of her son, he stops himself out of guilt. Despite their previous issues, Yvette begins to realize she still loves Jody.
Wow.
I'm gonna stop reading right there.
Right. That was a lot. Even that little bit was definitely a lot. Um, so yeah, he's going through his drama and messing a lot of stuff up along his path of getting to know who he is. And I think in the movie he has like a best friend, and he's still hanging out with the guy he hung out with when he was in fifth grade, and they just go around the hood chilling, and just floating, and just not really driven, having any goals. And he's getting on his mama nerves, and his mama got a boyfriend, and she's trying to move forward with her life, and he's still in the same room that he grew up in, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that has been a popular theme within our community in terms of um arrested development.
Arrested Development stopped or gated or barred learning. not being able to develop the brain, the youth brain, the young brain, that young mind. They stop or they put bars on developing the young mind when we put them in the school system, in my
What?
opinion.
Okay, I'll accept that, and I'll say this, because when you talk about the mines and bars, of course we think school to prison pipeline. Can you Google school to prison pipeline? And I won't hold you too longer after this, uh, but I do want to kind of share a couple more things if that's okay. So if you pull up school to prison pipeline, what you should find is that there is no school to prison pipeline. But let's just see what it says. Maybe you find something else. Oh, no, 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 no. That's not. Prisons are built based on fourth grade reading scores. That's what I wanted you to look up. Please forgive me. Oh, no, no. Okay, that's good. Um, that was the second one I wanted to show. So the first one, um, I think is going to be from UnitedStates.gov or something, but it's going to say there's no such thing as a school to prison pipeline. But now this should be from Kentucky, which you're reading, but it may be somewhere else. But anyway,
This
um,
is Governor's Foundation. Let me keep
okay,
going. Let me keep going. This, wow. 70% of all incarcerated adults cannot read at a fourth grade level. That's interesting.
correct. And they started that shortly before the TV show Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Once they determined the school to prison pipeline was based on fourth to fifth grade reading levels, um, then that's when the TV show Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader came out, and that's where they said uh, the number of prison cells are built based on fourth grade reading. By the time you get to fifth grade, we're gonna know if Man going to jail or not. G- Give Man a book, and if he can't read, his ass, they got a cell waiting for his ass.
Now, I agree because I removed my son in third grade. By third grade, they were already working to say that he was not able to function amongst uh, the in the community. Yet when he went into the system, he went in there knowing multiple languages and high functioning ahead of everyone else.
Come on.
So the school system is not even set up to maintain our type of brain. You know, it that is the purpose of why I brought up their scale. Their scale is not based on how we should be educating and putting into our children from conception and moving forward, not from entering a school building and then going forward and then them deciding that by the time they get to third grade, this child is going to go into this field, this child is going to go to jail cells, this child is going to go into that field, this child is going to be between third and fifth, fourth grade, that's what they're already working on, figuring out where they want the children to go to and directing them into that, how they want them to I don't want to say benefit society because it does not benefit when you have a child already labeled as going um, to the streets to become a drug dealer or to become a dancer. They literally have statistics where they study these things to say, okay, well, this child, based off of how the family is interacting and how the child is coming up and interacting in the classroom, they study us like it's ridiculous. They study us more than we study ourselves, which is an issue.
Well, the areas that a lot of us live in, they are called the projects.
There you go.
Because they studying here at the science project.
Okay, they just like that movie. They cloned Tyrone, where they were actually studying us up under the project.
See, oh my God! Damn, Gina. Okay.
Okay, I don't know if anybody ever even caught on to they have to put everything in a movie to tell us, even though they don't tell us out front or or blatantly.
Correct.
They still tell us.
Come on.
So yeah, they studying us harder than we've been studying ourselves, and we need to be studying them and everyone else. And I'm not saying them or us as in any particular group. I'm not trying to ruffle nobody's feathers. I'm speaking about the children. I'm speaking about the children that are in my direct reach, etc. They are being studied from conception because the parents are being studied and watched from conception. Think about, where did the CIA come from? Any of these alphabet groups, FBI, CIA, label any, they all came because they needed to study why we were progressing so aggressively, and in order to be able to slow it down. I think they've succeeded in doing so by pushing this, we're going to hold children accountable as adults, even though they're children. Think about the young man who was only 14, Mr. Tenney.
George Stinney.
Stinney, yes. He was only 14, and he didn't even do what he was accused of. Well, let me not say that because I was not there.
No, you're right. I think sometime in the early 2000s, they exonerated him and they gave him a state apology.
Okay, so yet his life was taken as an adult. He was tried as an adult and executed as an adult at 14. So
correct.
Again, the system is already set up to, I digress. We have been going for quite a while, and I know we do have to get moved. I got to get, my son will be coming in from swim practice soon. Can we do a part 2 to this?
I would love to, because you said something in the beginning and I thought was interesting. This started off of a phone call we had, and we've barely hit the surface.
Okay. So, I appreciate you for blessing us, giving us your time and energy this evening. I'm appreciative of everyone that joined us in the chat rooms. Join us again, because it's not often that we get to talk on very important subjects that everyone needs to hear. Gratitude to everyone for joining us. Like, share, subscribe. CrumbTV, please give him some gratitude for being here, because he didn't have to give us his time this evening. $sign CrumbTV, you know what I'm saying? Just the wisdom itself from the master student. And we all are master students, attaining as much wisdom and knowledge as possible. Thank you all for joining us. Have a blissful evening and a great day. Thank you for watching our videos. Support who supports you, and check out some of our supporters. Definitely like, share, subscribe, and have a great day.